all the use cases leads to the users interacting actually less with the app. So we want you guys to interact as less as possible, but then get as much as done.
Less time, maximum return.
Exactly.
My name is Afonso, the co-founder of NetNada, and I'm here with Bala, one of our engineers, and we are going over our half-month sprint in February 2026. And we're doing these videos to be able to really interact with you, share how we build things and why we build things, and hopefully get some really good questions from you for you to learn more about NetNada, but also the behind the scenes of how we come up with these decisions and how we create what we create. So in halfway through February, we did a bit of a revamp with Kamakshi on the carbon ledger. So basically our audit table, and we also did some really, really cool stuff in terms of integrating agentic AI in a useful manner, not just bloating the product, to make life easier. And I want to ask you a couple questions of what happens behind the scenes on how this agentic AI works in our audit table. For context, audit table inside NetNada is where you can see the raw data and how things have been calculated in our emissions module. So emission factors, supplier names, activity data, database that has been used, a link to the source file. And this means that our clients are using a bunch or being able to access a bunch of information to their work. Yes. And you guys were coming up with new ways of interacting with that, better filtering. Do you want to explain a bit more about what Kamakshi and the team have done?
Yeah. So audit table, like you said, is complex, and it has a lot of information in a really presentable way. But if you're not an auditor who has been trained on auditing this information, like for carbon accounting or sustainability, you might find it a little bit hard to navigate it, like I did, and like the dev team did basically, right? So we understood that most of our clients who are providing this data and using this information, their information might probably be in the same boat. And we wanted to really make sure that you don't have to have a auditor level knowledge to go through all the information. And the first step we decided to take was to improve the search filters that we have inside the audit page. So to really quickly show you that, so we are in the audit page right now, and if you go into the filters tab, you can see already that there's a lot of options and permutations and combinations that you can choose. You might be aware about scopes and bill information, but then the more deeper you go, you might quickly understand that this requires more thinking. And initially you came to this page with I just need to know what my scope 2 emission related data is, right? So what we really tried is to use AI and bridge that connection between your natural language and end results. So now in the search bar, without requiring to match with any facility names or any emission factors or any descriptions, you can simply search for scope 2 data on electricity. Should I come to that? Yeah, you can search this information, and AI would be able to then go and take this natural human language and do the filtering for you and then get the information for you.
The reason I think this is also super interesting is that different people interact with the data at different levels. So someone might be asking about suppliers, others might be asking about emission factors, and trying to if they only coming to NetNada for a few minutes because they are part of the finance team and not in the sustainability team, not having to relearn a whole UI, I think it's fantastic because you can do this work very seamless. You go in, you go out, and you go about our day, and NetNada keeps on talking to everything that it needs to do.
Exactly, yeah.
So show me some of the outcome of the interpretation.
Well, yeah, we got exactly what we asked for. So scope 2 on electricity, it has gone ahead and chosen the filter for us automatically. And as you can see, you can have even more details if you want, okay, I want scope 2 where I don't have an emission factors, and it should be able to match that and then give it to you and basically interact with all the filters, which is human language.
Yeah. One thing that I think was super cool is when people ask questions that are not sustainability related is I want to find out emissions for Australia, right? And before you have to understand, okay, Australia has activity data, spend data, different suppliers, and now they can ask this and get information. Or things for last year. Okay, what is last year? Having the context of which year it is.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have, a reporting period. I think those things are super useful. And if they then want to use the filtering, they can, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But they might just ask the question, go do something else, and come back and then look at the data and download it to their computer if needed, or share it with someone.
Exactly. Both reducing friction between your thought process and end results, and also giving you the freedom to use our tool with like complete manual control is something that we'll always give in every feature that we give out.
Okay, so another thing that we worked on in February was improving our initial version of agentic AI and chatbot interactions within NetNada. We did two main things. One came from an idea from our own customer support, which was if there is actually a problem and they can't solve via the app, how can we bring that human element back into the conversation? So our AI is always looking for human problems that need to be solved and suggesting meeting with our team if needed, because we know that our clients value the technology but also value our team. That's one. And the other one was a big request, which is uploading documents to interact with within NetNada, within the chatbot.
Yeah.
You've already worked on a lot of like document processing within NADA. What was the transfer that you had to do in terms of the structure, the architecture, to be able to also ingest files within conversation with our AI?
Okay, yeah. To answer your last statement first, let's talk about file processing. Like last month, we decided to give the clients the feature to upload documents in an organizational level. We now also understand that within a particular chat, you might need to give some files for additional context. It might be reports that you're working on, it might be your own data, or anything may it be. We now have this feature to upload a file within the chat. Now that file is then processed and is converted into a vector form, which is like how that's Netty's language. So now Netty completely understands the context of the file that you just provided within that chat. So now this is really, really important, because there would be files that are really necessary for you to ask in a particular chat, but it's not relevant for your entire organization. So having such files in the organizational folder might actually do you more harm. So that is where this feature really shines, and you can just use this file for this context and forget about it. And Netty does not take that context outside the chat.
I think a lot of other products, they might try to just bolt on AI, and I feel that just bolting on AI without understanding the business context of it is really challenged. So I want files that are just for me, files that are for my organization, and how you take AI from personal interaction to something that's within the business context. And to do that, you need a lot of more guardrails and understand that have your own conversation, segmented here, here's your business context, and being able to manage all of that.
That's right.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And you can always ask Netty if you're unsure about where the file should go. That's also a starting point, because it's really built on a very intelligent system. So it can help you more ways than you can imagine.
Yeah, because a lot of users use that in the context of, I have this file, how do I use it?
Yeah.
Right? Where should it go?
Yeah.
And of course, we've already built pipelines where people can just drag and drop things to get processed. But is the discovery aspect, what is missing, where should this go, is this scope 1, 2, 3, is this good enough? And being able to have that conversation, I think it's super useful. The other thing that the team also has done is more direct linking inside the chat, so better context for pages.
Yeah.
And then there was also work like outside of the chat, but we also one of the main bottlenecks of carbon accounting or climate reporting is data ingestion. It lives in one format and needs to end up in another. It needs to be reviewed, it needs to be used, calculated. I know that the team also spent significant time working on spend-based data, and that better formats can be ingested. We had an error that was empty rows as an example, that now you might have a file format that has gaps between data, and we understand that.
Yeah.
And also working on the OCR. OCR is the module or the technology that allows you to extract information from things like PDFs.
Yeah.
And you've also spent significant time improving the waste part of that, which is a big component for our built environment, that they need activity data to measure this. Do you, just a quick question on that before you finish, do you feel that there's going to be a one solution fits all for document processing, or do you think the team needs to spend time investigating each different data type, data quality, or do you think there's going to be a universal?
I think your first statement is what's going to take us to your second statement. So like right now, the time we spend on really understanding the data that we are getting. So we are obviously getting data in all shapes and form. Example you mentioned, like that could be empty rows, that could be different words explaining the same thing, and data analytics and data science is here for that very purpose, right? So for us to now put in the groundwork to really understand how we're getting all this data and then kind of like funneling it down to what it actually has to be and what it needs to like accept to be accepted within our app is leading us to a future where it's this universal thing where you don't have to worry about all these small details, and we can, process everything because of all the knowledge that we've built so far on it. So yeah, that's probably the path that we are taking right now, and we're like continuously improving. And in the future updates, you will hear us talk about increasing like the AI type matching and a lot of features that basically work on this exact thing that you asked.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And then finally, the team also did one really small thing that, you don't talk about, but is the aspect of linking files that are uploaded to tasks. So NetNada has a task manager that handles the job that needs to be done for completing your carbon inventory.
Yeah.
And now the fact that files that get uploaded get detected to which emission, which node, and then they auto mark your task as in progress or completed, which is, I think, phenomenal for the work of, if the platform is so intelligent, well, it should detect what I'm doing in terms of like file uploading into the task that I'm trying to do.
Exactly. Like all the use cases leads to the users interacting actually less with the app. So we want you guys to interact as less as possible, but then get as much as done with the work. So
less time for maximum return.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll chat to you in 2 weeks, and we'll be touching on more automation in terms of like spend data being uploaded, also on how you produce reports within NetNada. With any questions, feel free to reach out to us via email, via socials, and of course, book a session with us and have a look at NetNada.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.